Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
With me today is abundance teacher and money coach, Jody Lynn Craven.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today. Okay, that was different. I don't know what you guys heard. What I heard was a skipping intro, and I have no idea what to make out of that. Maybe it was just my signal, but the main thing is we're here. Welcome to LOA Today with my good friend and co-host, Jody Lynn Craven, and we're joined by Julie Heaton, who is a former corporate executive, and she's a certified health and wellness coach. She's a Reiki master. She's got all this stuff going on. So she's got both the mainstream and the alternative all happening in the same place. It's going to be really fun to talk about. But Jody Lynn, yeah, right. Jody Lynn's nodding her head already. It's like she's already on board with that. But Jody Lynn, I just wanted to start off by asking you, where I live in Connecticut, as you know, and where I live, we're finally getting warm weather. You're in Alberta, Canada. Are you getting warm weather yet?
Ish. I mean, outside of the wind, it's been plus 15 degrees Celsius. So that's
warm for you guys.
Warm. The wind can really shut up, but
that's like, t-shirt weather.
Exactly. It's definitely t-shirt weather. And when you're out of the wind, it's beautiful. I'm dying in my car. My AC has decided it does not want to work this season. So yes, so it is getting nicer, but we wait with bated breath until after May long weekend.
Yes,
that's usually when the last snow can show up.
That's the fun part about living in Canada, right? Because you never know when that last snow is going to come.
Exactly. Yeah. Do I take my winter tires off now or do I wait?
That's the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the main thing is I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad we're getting started to do another show today with our new friend, Julie Heaton. And Julie, welcome to the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate being here and chatting with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be really, really good. Give us a little bit of your background, because like I kind of described in my half-ass introduction, you have this like wide range of stuff going on here. You got to explain, how does that happen?
Yeah, I do. I have a really broad range of things. I spent over 30 years in the corporate world as an executive, seemingly successful executive, but I wasn't happy. My soul was just crushed. And I learned about right around COVID, when things started slowing down, about a year before I quit my job and decided to figure out what I wanted to do and who I was. I grew up with, like a lot of people in my generation, where people told you who you were going to be. You're not married yet? Oh, you're going to be married. You're going to have kids? Okay. And I was looking to prove myself. I wasn't able to self-validate. So I spent many years in my career just as a driven personality type, and did all the things and conquered all the hills, and then decided that it just didn't make me happy. And so I dug deep and went to India and did all the things and figured out what was going to make me happy. Or happy is the wrong word, because happy is so fleeting, but what brings me inner peace and what keeps me like this instead of like this. Yeah.
You're actually saying you like stability? I mean, what a thing. Who knew?
I like to be able to control my emotions and decide how I'm going to feel about things instead of just reacting to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I call myself a spiritual realist because I'm very grounded. I understand that people have to pay bills and things that have to happen in real life, but I also feel very connected to the universe, and that what you give, you get. And, so I have both things. So you're right. I'm on both sides of the coin.
That's a good thing. It's a nice balance to have. It's one I can identify with personally, and I can do as well. When you have that kind of perspective, basically means you can handle almost anything that comes your way. Doesn't mean you're going to like it.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? But you can handle almost anything that comes your way.
Well, I've learned to take a breath before I react, so I can handle most anything that comes my way. I also learned to be excited when I get triggered. When something hits me and I'm like, ugh, the first thing I think is, yay, then now I have something. What's next? What do I get to work on? What is still needs to be dug up?
So you're an advanced practitioner. You've actually recognized that that's the good news coming in.
Oh,
You're the bad news.
I literally get excited.
That's really something.
Maybe after I get mad, then I get excited.
You're human after all.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we just do our best.
That's good though. Yeah. And I love the perspective. I know Jody Lynn does too. What made you decide to go the routes that you went though? Because you could have done a lot of different things. I mean, certainly a lot of people have encountered the same kind of position in life where they found it just wasn't satisfying them, it wasn't meeting their needs and so forth, so they decided to make some changes. But you decided to go in very particular directions. I mean, you identified going to India, for instance, which was almost stereotypical, by the way. But I mean, you chose to go a certain route. What made you decide to go the route you went?
You know, even as a little person, I was very intuitive, and I always knew there's something more. This wasn't it. You know, going to work, paying your bill, that just couldn't have been it. And somewhere I lost my way during all this corporate stuff. And I just have always wanted to find why are we here and what's this about? It can't just be about making somebody money, you know? And I just started digging deep. I started meditating and doing a lot of free form writing, and I let my intuition guide me. And it was really cool. All the things that lined up for me once I started doing that. The India, I never thought about going to India. Frankly, I'm a germaphobe. You know, it's something I would ever think I would do. But the stars aligned. I went to this conference, and the speaker, one of the speakers, like targeted me at lunch. There was thousands of people in the room and sat by me, and this whole thing came up about India. And I said, you know, I just don't think that's for me. And she said, Julie, you're too comfortable. You're too comfortable. And I think this would be a good, you know, she just really, it was weird. You know, it's one of those weird things that just boop, 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 out of the blue. So I came home and I told my husband, I think I'm going to India.
What did he say? I'm curious.
You know, I married a really great man, and he said, wow, honey, that sounds great. You know, he wouldn't want to go to India. It's not his thing, but he always supports me in the things I want to do. And
that's fabulous.
He's a great man.
That's a wonderful relationship to have.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good stuff on that. Also, when you found yourself on this new path, what I've learned happens a lot of times. Now, not all the time, but a lot of times, is that the people who get onto the path immediately start to ask themselves, what the hell have I gotten myself into? Did you have a moment like that?
Well, yes, many. I mean, more than one. It took me a while to unwind and unravel all the layers and stories and all the things I identified with. And that was painful. I mean, there was things I had to grapple with and let go. And I lost family and friends because I decided I'd rather show up authentically than in the box I was in. And it didn't work for them.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot, you know, there's a lot of things you have to decide. When you start to change, not everybody's going to be comfortable with your changes.
And now everybody's going to change along with you.
They're either going to change along with you, or you've got to let them go because they're going to be so uncomfortable. You just don't fit anymore. So for now. So, or
perhaps they don't fit anymore. Just thinking, you know.
Either way, either way, I learned that not everybody's meant to be in your life for your whole life. There's seasons for people, and that can apply to anybody, to family or friends or anybody, and they might cycle back through, or maybe that was the end, and that's okay.
It's always intriguing to me how sometimes when we have these changes in our circles, the people around us and so forth, It's interesting how often some of the people who left the circle come back.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen frequently,
Hmm.
but right, Jody Lynn? I mean,
Mhm.
isn't it amazing when that happens?
Yeah. And they, like, in my experience, at least, the people that have tried to come back or like are beginning to open a door to come back, they feel maybe bad about how things went down, or like they just like, oh, I didn't get it. That's what you were doing. You were growing and changing, and it just felt so uncertain for me, and I needed to back away because I didn't know where you fit anymore. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is. People get really uncomfortable when you make them question themselves by your actions, you know? Yeah. I learned a long time ago, you can't tell anybody anything. You just have to show them. And so I just show up, and you either love me or don't. I mean, this is who I am, and I'm not willing to compromise that anymore for anybody.
Good for you. Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you talking about? I call it the ripple effect. You know, how whenever we put stuff out there vibrationally, it creates ripples. And the ripple effect is where a lot of different things happen. We find some people moving away. We find new people moving in. We find some people occasionally coming back. We find some people coming back and challenging us, saying, what the hell are you doing? And we have a whole bunch of ripples that go on. But the fact is, nobody remains unaffected by it.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Actions always cause a reaction.
Yeah. And then the really weird part and kind of fun part, kind of a funny part, is watching people who try to pretend that they aren't affected by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like nothing's happened.
There's nothing going on here. You know? Nothing to see here. Move
It's
along.
under the rug.
Well, that is easier for some people, you know, not to pay attention.
Oh yeah, sure. Just pretend it's not there.
It'll go away.
It'll go away, right? So she's going through a phase. That's what it is.
Yeah, at 56. Yeah.
This is a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a new midlife, 56.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Actually, it's about true for me. That's about when I started doing it. Yeah. Makes sense. So today you are now, well, you wear a lot of different hats. I mean, how do you self-identify today? What is it that you see yourself doing?
I see myself as a mentor. I'm really passionate about helping people figure out what they love and who they are and how to live the life they want to live and how to get there. You know, it seems so overwhelming starting from here in this space that you don't know how to get out of to this space of freedom. And I'm so practical. I'm a very practical person. So I'm able to present things in doable small action steps, you know. It's not, I don't expect someone to go from here to here in a day. We just start small and build good habits, and you know, small steps lead to big progress.
Well, it's probably just as well because, I mean, you're right, small steps do lead to the big progress, but they're also not uniform. So it's 3 steps forward, 6 steps back.
Oh, gosh.
Trip over the rock.
Trip over the rock. Learn it again. You know, learn it again. Yeah, and again. Yes.
Then again.
That just happened to me not too long ago. I thought I had nailed something. Like, oh, finally, I got this. And something really hit me hard, and I realized, man, I have some, you know, as we know, it goes like this, you know. And so I went around the merry-go-round again and went a little deeper, and we'll see what comes back up.
How did you deal with that, Julie? Because I think that a lot of people in this context of this conversation, they're like, okay, I've dealt with my shit and I'm good now. And then it hits them again and they're like so mad. Like, I thought I dealt with that. Like, and they create a new meaning around it. Like, oh, I must not be good enough to deal with it, or I must not have dug deep enough to deal with it. Like, what is your perspective on that?
My perspective is we continue to learn until the day we die, unless we're the Buddha, you know. So until we're enlightened beings, there's going to be lessons coming up. And so I learned a long time ago, I have to have forgiveness and compassion for myself like I do for everybody else. So when these lessons come up, I'm not gonna say I was excited that this thing came up and hit me in the face, like, whoa, crap. But I was able to look at it and thank it and realize that I had some more work to do, and go back and do the work, start asking the questions, and kind of going down the rabbit hole with that again. I do a lot of free form writing around things that are still lodged in my body, and that helps bring them out and up, kind of the next layer that I need to work on. And, I know that there's still layers in there, there's things that are going to come up until I can materialize something out of thin air, until I'm a yogi, that's going to happen. We're all going to have these things, and that's okay. That's life. Life is just a practice. We're all just doing our best every day. And that's how I'm able to forgive a lot of people and myself, is that I think, we're just doing the best at our ability every day. That's what we're doing. And it's a practice. And so I'm practicing. I'm just learning as I go.
As you were describing, particularly you were kind of describing it in a general way, your experience of, dealing with the stuff as it comes up and how it affects you and so forth. For some reason, it reminded me of something from when I was growing up. Now, when I was growing up, obviously it was pre-internet, so that was not even part of the conversation. And on top of that, it was the era of the vinyl records. So a large portion of your growing up was, what were your first records? My very first record was Simon & Garfunkel's The Sounds of Silence. And I had very different understanding of what the lyrics in those songs, particularly the title song, were all about then compared to now. As you were talking, I thought, I kind of reflected back from where I am right now to what Paul Simon was singing about when he sang about, "Hello, darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again."
Yeah.
Very different from what I thought when I was a kid. Now it's like, oh yeah, I get it.
There's the shadow.
Yeah.
People talk about the shadow side and nobody understands what that is, and they want to, act like it's not there. But that's just part of us. It's there. You are my old friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard that, I said to myself, who would want darkness as a friend?
Well, it makes the light shine brighter.
I thought he was just smoking something. I didn't know what it was.
Well, he probably was.
He probably was.
Definitely.
But yeah, the way that we perceive things really can change over time depending on whether or not we go through real growth. Sometimes we go through life not going through any substantial growth. A lot of people they want to stay in that comfort zone. You were in the comfort zone. That's what your guru, teacher, workshop leader, whatever she was telling you. Yeah, that you were in the comfort zone and you actually listened. A lot of people who live in the comfort zone, they have no intention of leaving. None whatsoever.
The thing is, as you know, most people in the comfort zone aren't really comfortable.
No,
they're just used to it. Yeah. And
that's why I call it a familiar zone, but most people call it a comfort zone, so I refer to it that way. I like to be, sociable. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My mom, music is really powerful for me. Speaking of music, I grew up with it. My mom dated a DJ, so we would get boxes of records, a lot of vinyl. And as a little person, the words deeply resonated with me. I still to this day, if I'm down or if I'm angry or I can put on the right song and sing it and get it out, Yeah.
You just brought back another song from that age. When you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones.
Some of the lyrics from that era were just amazing.
Yeah.
They really were. Really.
Not that other lyrics aren't, but there was, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up in that era. Maybe I'm like partial to it because of it. But
no, I think that music has changed a lot.
You think so?
Yes. There's the quality of lyrics, in my opinion, is not great today with the new music. Like there's it's not the same. There's no message. No, like like the, Sound of Sounds that you were talking about, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend, like even just that one line, how deep is that in comparison to some pop music we have now?
I have a lot of the pop music, and this was always true for me, but a lot of the pop music, I listen to the lyric and I say, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just fun for the beat, but if you want to go deep, I think you have to go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah, I think there's truth to that. Well, especially since, if we're going to touch on music, one of my favorite musical eras was a very short era. It was the era of folk rock.
Oh, yeah.
Which actually both of those, Simon & Garfunkel and James Taylor, fell into, and there were a number of others in that group. And it only lasted about 10 years. But that's some of my favorite music.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. And it's for a lot of people, too.
Yeah.
Now that we live in the age of the internet and the iPhone and the Android phone and being able to just sum up playlists of whatever you like to listen to, all my playlists are from the 70s and 80s.
I know. My husband's better than me. He has a good mix. He has a lot of our old music that we just sing to and love, but he always adds new music to keep us more relevant. I'm like, yeah. So at least I know some new things. Yeah.
I don't know a bunch. I have like 3 songs since 2000, for instance, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I have him to keep me more relevant, but
that's good.
Barely.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the DJ in him, right?
Yeah. He wants to be able to talk to his daughter, and he wants to be able, he wants to be able to have conversations and be part of the culture. And so I appreciate that.
Good for him. So, all right, we've kind of zeroed in. We don't really have a label for what you do. You apply a lot of labels, but we at least have an idea of what you're trying to accomplish, which is really the more important thing anyway.
Yeah. I'm a mentor. I like to, like I said, I like to help people figure out where they want to go in their lives and how to get there. I'm an author. I'm working on my next book right now. So I have the Manifestor's Playbook and the Manifestor's Workbook, and now I'm working on a book called Roar, which is about using your voice and standing in your power. And I've written a series of children's books. So
really,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, called The Adventures of the Fabulous 3, and those are all about being kind to yourself and the planet and others, and staying, just being a good person.
Very nice. Yeah. And I can see on your face that it resonates with you to do that.
I love it. It's so interesting, when you figure out your life and you start going down a path. When I was doing all the freeform writing, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I at some point, months into it, I went to my husband and I said, I think I'm writing a book. He said, well, honey, that's great, And then I kind of fleshed it out and hired an editor, and she said, yeah, you have a book. And it was shocking to me because I'm not the writer in the family. That wasn't my title. My sister was a writer in the family.
Oh.
She has that title. And so it was almost scary, like, oh, that's not my role, though. Wait a minute, that's not my role. I'm the driver. I'm the
So how cool to have a resource like that. Because she's an expert at it, so she can help you as you're trying to figure the thing out and navigate it.
Yeah, it was cool, but I had to accept that I could do it too. So that was a big challenge, actually, for me to get up and say I'm an author.
So can you say it comfortably now?
Yeah, I can, and I love it. It's just, I could spend all day writing.
Really?
Love it. Yeah. There's days where I carve out to write, and at like 11 o'clock, and I think I better go brush my teeth now. I think it's past time to have breakfast and brush your teeth.
Get out of your pajamas.
Yes, it's true. I wake up, meditate, start writing, and I just get lost in it. Just this one more thing I want to say. And
I think we can safely say that it's not just your sister.
Yeah.
You have the title of author now.
Yeah. And I accept it, and I really love it.
That's fabulous. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
So you're a mentor and you're an author. I'm going to hazard a fairly safe guess, and this is coming from my experience of doing this podcast for the last 12 and a half years. because I've met hundreds of people, had really fascinating interviews with a wide range of viewpoints and understandings and so forth. And I've really come to value them.
Mhm.
I'm going to guess that as you've been mentoring people, you've been having very much the same kind of experience, because you're never going to get the same person over and over again. You're getting different people, different problems, different issues, different ways of looking at things and so forth. And it's got to affect you. I can't imagine that it doesn't.
In what way do you mean?
In any different way that
Mhm.
another perspective can attach and can influence your life. I mean, not all perspectives are going to be equivalent. They're not all going to affect you in the same way. But I found anyway. Now you tell me, maybe your experience is different, but for me, every time that I encounter a new perspective, which is basically a new person coming onto the show, I find, okay, there's one more new way I hadn't thought of thinking about.
Yeah. People always amaze me in lots of different ways, and I'm always touched at the sincerity and the willingness of people to grow and learn. And so I am affected by, and I have a very open mind, so I'm always looking for different ways of viewing things and different perspectives. And so in that way, yes, I'm always growing, learning. I mean, I was just telling somebody yesterday, my truth today probably is not going to be my truth in a year. My integrity is there,
Sure.
Where it's coming from. So I always say to people, this is my truth right now. Doesn't mean it's the truth. And I think people have to realize that as we grow and learn, our truth can change, our perspective changes. And it's really weird to me. It's odd that at some point in our lives, we're expected to stop growing, like just stay, like, when you're a baby, people are, oh, he's so cute, then you go see the same kid when he's 2 and it's, oh, he's talking, he's so cute. And you go, you watch this growth and you're expecting it. You're expecting this big growth from these kids. And at some point like, okay, that's it. You know what you know, and stop. I'm comfortable right there.
Yeah. You're supposed to know everything by now. This age, you're supposed to have it all figured out.
Yes.
I think we're told that.
Yeah.
Or somebody told me that, I think, at some point. When you get to being, an adult, you'll figure it out. Like, you'll know. And then it just kept changing ages, though, as I age. It like, 5 more years.
Don't you know that?
Yeah.
So I hope I never stop growing. I hope when I'm on my deathbed, I learn a new truth. It's as long as we come from a place of integrity, the truth is bendable because it evolves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, and this is in an ironic sense, one of my favorite things is when somebody says, that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, I can't stand that.
Well, I actually love it. I'll tell you why. I love it because every time I look at their faces, they're saying it, I can tell that they don't believe it. They're trying to convince themselves as they're saying it to you.
That is a trigger for me because my mom says that. That's her fit since I was a little girl. Like, it's everything, and that's my story and I'm sticking to it. And it's like, okay, great. So now that's what I say to her. Okay, yeah, okay. But that's that's what you want. But that's been her story since I was a little girl. And I'm going to go see her next week. And I'm guessing at some point that she'll have that tagline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, whenever I hear somebody saying, I'm literally looking at their face and kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
Because I can see it in their eyes. I mean, I never have anybody say that to me in a way that says, I really believe that's true.
Yeah.
They always say it is, that's my story, I'm sticking to it. And then they're like checking to see what your reaction is.
I'm glad you brought that up because I will look at that in a different way with her and see if I can see that.
The other thing that I found really helps, and now obviously this may not apply because you have a long history with your mom that's going to affect you in the way it affects you. But what I often like to do is not out loud, but I like to laugh to myself. As I'm noticing, because in a sense, it's really them deceiving themselves and trying to deceive me and get me to join in on the conspiracy.
Yeah.
and inside, I'm outside, I'm probably being sympathetic and all that kind of thing, and inside, I'm going.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know. My mom is one of the most creative, brilliant women. You know, growing up, she was a single mom. She worked 3 jobs to support
Right.
us. She was just a doer and really impressive. And as she got kind of older, she started going into herself, and the things that she didn't work on, the self-validation, the self-love, those just got so big, you know, she's just swallowed up by them, which is probably, you know, one of the things I think about when I'm growing and loving myself and validating myself is it was a good lesson. I don't want that for myself. You know, I don't want a life where I'm looking for other people to tell me I'm okay.
Yeah, that external validation, that will crush you every time.
Every time. And that, you know, I lived that way for a lot of years, seeking that, especially from my family. And I realized it's never sustainable. You can't live off that, and you've got to figure it out for yourself. And I think that's when.
And isn't it true that the more you seek it, the shorter that the half-life becomes?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's progressive, you know, so if you keep doing it long enough, it gets to the point where it lasts, you know, 5 seconds. And then what do you do?
Yeah. It just isn't worth it. You have to learn how to love yourself and self-validate. It's what's going to change the world, you know, one person at a time. If people love themselves, we wouldn't have all this hate going around. You know, love and hate just don't exist together.
Or to put it another way, every time that somebody does make a change, their world changes.
Yeah.
So Julie, how do you do that? Tell the audience, tell us how do you build that self-love, that self-validation? Because it's not something we're taught in school.
No, unfortunately, it's not.
They didn't offer the course. Why couldn't I take the course? I wanted to sign up.
I know. Yeah, I wish someone would have offered that in junior high.
You know, it's a lot of small steps and it's a lot of work. It's like any other muscle you're building. It takes practice and dedication. And the first thing I did was start with where everybody should start with gratitude. You know, the things I have and the things that just to be honest, I went to a Deepak Chopra conference, and it was so great. It was one of his meditation conferences where you're like to take a deep dive into meditation. Nice. And it came on stage and he said, tell me, or what are you grateful for today? And I was in my chair, and it was right before I was going to leave my career. And I was like, couldn't think of anything I was grateful for, really. I mean, I was just kind of in a bad place. And he said, the answer should be everything. And that is another pivotal moment. I was like, what? Everything? Everything? Yeah, what do you mean everything? And I get that now. I get it. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful for the rain. You know, I'm just grateful for everything. And I don't know how people don't witness life as a miracle. You know, like I'm just grateful for everything. So gratitude is huge. You know, when I'm feeling any way, I can go back to, man, I'm breathing. I got up this morning. I'm alive. You know, I have a great husband. And I can go back to the things, the basics. The other thing is learning meditation, taking the time to center yourself and listen and see what your intuition has to say. That's been huge for me. I know people are a little afraid of meditation, and so I tell people it doesn't mean you have to sit on the cushion for an hour. You know, maybe you start with 5 minutes. You know, maybe you do a guided meditation. Maybe you go hug a tree. That's meditation. And I go hug trees. I am a tree hugger, so you'll see me on my walk. It's true. There's nothing that feels better than hugging a tree. So when I can't get out of something, when I'm learning a lesson, I'll go to, we have a lake over here called Radnor Lake, and I'll go hug some trees. And it just, you can't feel bad when you're hugging a tree. Just can't. I do you guys, are guys SNL fans, old school SNL?
Mm-hmm.
There's a Stuart Smalley, character that says to himself in the mirror, I love you, you're doing great, people like you. And I do that. I look in the mirror and I tell myself, I love you and you're doing great, thank you for all you did today, and I give myself a little high five. And
that's really powerful. I've done mirror work like that. And
yeah.
I haven't told the story in a long time, but I used to tell the story a lot about my first time that I did it. And I don't know what your first time was like, but my first time was like this. I was trying to
It's so
convince myself to say, I love you to myself in the mirror. And mine went like this. I love you.
Yeah, like looking out of the side of your eye.
Yeah, I love you. Yeah, it's hard to do. People don't teach you that it's so, and it's uncomfortable. It feels corny. It feels awkward.
Yeah,
and especially I shouldn't say this, especially for women, but I do it naked. I look in the mirror, look at my body, and thank my body. Thank all of it, every part of it, and I'm in gratitude for it. And that is huge. That's a huge turning point when you can love your body.
Oh, yeah.
And I really love it. Like, not just platitudes, just being so grateful that it works so well. I'm strong and healthy. And, I spent many years of my life, my family was very focused on looks and appearance. I had a grandpa that called me Betty Big Butt when I was a little girl.
Oh, geez.
I know. It's a whole thing. I'm okay now, though.
I'm glad to hear that.
I like my butt. Yeah. So anyway, I had a whole bunch of body issues, just a whole bunch. And I look back at pictures and I'm like, man, I was like super fit and I thought I was fat. I just always looked at myself as fat. So I knew I had to change that because I didn't want to tell my body that anymore. It does so much for us. It's just so amazing. So I just started really focusing on things that maybe I didn't like before. I'd really focus on them and think about them and love them for what they do for me. And a big thing for me is health and wellness. And I think part of being healthy and is loving your body and feeding it well. And I'm actually reverse aging.
I'm with you. Yeah.
I just got my blood work back, and I'm biologically 56, but I'm 42. So
woohoo!
Yeah. So it works, and big part of that is being so grateful and seeing my body healthy and seeing my body work. And I couldn't have done that 10 years ago. So I don't know if I answered your question. It was long-winded, but those are the beginnings. Those are the things. And it's small steps. I always tell everybody, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. Pick something else and work on it. Work on that. And then maybe pick the other thing up later. Maybe there's 2 or 3 things you're working on and they're small. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew. If these habits are hard to break, and so it takes time and dedication to do it, and so you need to be able to give yourself enough space to do that. And then you go into and then I go into changing thought patterns and processes. Stopping negative self-talk and proactively giving yourself positive feedback and just a lot of things. I mean, it goes on and on and on as you grow in this cycle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you've touched on some really great stuff there too. There are a lot of them I can go to. I'm going to go to, well, there's 2 of them I want to go to. I'm trying to pick which one do I go with. One that we touched on a lot, and I want to bring that one in first. I think you called it free writing. We would often call it journaling. Doesn't matter what you call it. That is, it's one of those things that for me was the hardest thing for me to deal with because I just didn't like it. I didn't enjoy the activity at all. Mm-hmm. And yet even me, I've gotten to the point now where I won't journal all the time. I won't write up, do free writing or whatever all the time. But there are times when I feel like I really need to break through on something or figure something out. And it really is an amazing thing when you do it through just writing stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
and I used to ask myself, well, not just myself, I would ask experts, and I'd have experts on the show explaining all this stuff to me, right? And I would ask them, well, can I just type it?
Doesn't that work?
And it does work to an extent,
Mhm.
but I have to admit the handwriting, as much as I really don't like handwriting, it actually is more effective.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's this connection that
Yeah.
that you're making, and the freeform writing, where freeform writing is where you don't think about it, you just write. So you're not really journaling like about your day or anything, but you just take a pen and paper and you write with no punctuation, no correction, whatever comes up.
Mhm.
And sometimes it starts, I don't know what I'm going to write. This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I'm writing something that was, oh, holy crap, that was in there, It's just amazing to me how our subconscious works.
That's pretty much what you call channeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lynn?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I've heard of free form writing in terms of like channeling the information, like just letting your pen go. And then you're like, wow, I wrote something. And it actually is like, it's a good sentence. That makes sense.
Well, I wrote the entire Manifestor's Playbook that way.
Really?
Yeah, that's what, yeah. I started doing that freeform writing, and I like I told you, I told my husband, I think I'm writing a book. And that's what that was. It's the Manifestor's Playbook.
That's amazing. I also wrote my book that way too. It just was all divinely channeled. It was difficult though, because I have really messy, like very like almost calligraphy, but not calligraphy writing. Like it's a mix of printing and handwriting, just mashed together. So the interesting part was reading it after. Like, what does that say?
What does it mean? What did I?
Yeah, absolutely. But I've always found with journaling, like my thoughts and feelings out with a pen and paper, I could see it and I could separate from it. So then I could see it on a different level, like that isn't exactly me, but there's a part of me that feels that way, but I can see it. So there's a part of me that's outside of it too. And it just felt different than typing or talking about it. Writing was always my outlet too.
For me, like you, it helps me be the witness. Yeah. And then I could see it. I always tell people, once you can accept something, you can deal with it. So writing something out and seeing something like, oh, okay, there it is. And then you have the choice to accept it or deny it, and if you accept it, then you could fix it. And that's the same for me. I'm visual and I'm tactile. So it really works.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting combination there. It's probably a fairly common one, the visual and the tactile.
Mm-hmm.
I
can half identify with it because vision really isn't my strength. Audio is my strongest strength, and tactile is second. So for me, it would be audio tactile. But I hadn't thought about it in terms of what happens when you combine them together. And certainly in the context of writing, that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it also occurs to me that what I do through the podcast is, again, audio and I mean, it's the same thing.
You're journaling just through your mouth.
Just pretty much.
Well, and it's crazy, Walt, that was your intention of the podcast from the beginning. More than 2,000 episodes ago, you were like, hey, I'm going to get free advice from all these people.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I have this question, and you just followed that intuitive nudge. Like, oh, I need this person, or I have this question, or I want to learn about this.
You know what's really funny about that, Jody Lynn, is I honestly did not believe I was acting intuitively.
It's crazy.
I really didn't.
Now, when you look back, though,
of course I was. There's no doubt about it.
It was meant to be.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I just didn't even give myself permission to even consider that possibility. That was too woo woo. I mean, I was already doing something woo woo enough, but that was just no. That's over the line. Can't go that far.
You said that, and it was 4444 on the clock.
It's perfect.
Yeah, divine timing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys are putting all these memories from the past in my mind. There's a book by what's her name? Pam. What's her last name? Oh, I always blank on this when I try to pull her name up. She wrote a book that is called E Squared, I think it is. Is it E Squared? I think it is. But the general idea is that it's about doing experiments to demonstrate to your own satisfaction that you can really manifest what you want in your life. And she also had a follow-up book, E Cubed. I think it's E. I'm really doubting myself right now. But whatever the book was, Pam Grout, that was her name, Pam Grout. She had this one experiment in the first book that I did, and in the experiment, well, first of all, she took a very scientific approach to it. She actually had a form that you could print out. You take it out of the book and make copies of it and so forth. And the form was essentially the same as what you would do if you were, say, working in a laboratory. So it was a way of creating a scientific experiment. You'd lay out your hypothesis, and then you'd lay out, here's what the experiment is going to be, and here's what you're testing for, and all that kind of stuff. And you're doing it with law of attraction kind of things. The first one that she had us do was essentially one that said, pick one thing that you want to have happen and lay it out. And so I really just took a kind of a general approach. I said, all right, the thing I want to have happen is I want to have proof in a very generic sense that if I focus on something, I'm going to get it. Which is probably not as detailed as what she had in mind, to be fair.
Yeah. It's pretty nebulous.
But I could be, stubborn like that way. So that's the way I was going to do it. And that's the way I did do it. And I think I did write something well, actually, I didn't do a whole lot of writing. I did most of the writing in my head. So I even violated that rule. But the way I kind of mapped it out, let's put it that way. When I mapped it out, I said, I need to have evidence show up that I can see, which is interesting because I'm more audio and tactile. But no, I wanted to see something that I could see. And I immediately got distracted by something. I think it was like some sort of an online conversation that was happening. Oh, I think it was in a Facebook group. That's what it was. People were talking about why is it that, like Jody Lynn was talking about, why is it you get numbers that come up all the time? Why am I always seeing 4444, 1 2 3 4, all this kind of stuff? And I was trying to help address that and help people figure stuff out and so forth. And finally, after about 2 hours of that, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go back to my book. I went back to my book, and there was the experiment. So I said, okay, I'm going to do the experiment. I need to have evidence that this stuff actually works. And as soon as I was done writing the whole thing out, I dropped the book by accident. I picked it up, and as I picked it up, I also had my phone next to me, and I knocked the phone over. And I picked the phone up, and it said 5:55. I said, well, that was the quickest damn experiment in history.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's so cool. I was with a guy for dinner last night. I didn't know him. It was a work dinner for my husband. And he told this story. It was a long story, but I'll make it short. They had decided to take a job somewhere else, him and his wife, and they're going to sell their house. And right before they're going to bed, his wife they had just decided, and she was getting all, like, let's figure it out. And it was 11 o'clock at night. He's like, we'll deal with it in the morning. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no, we got to do it. And anyway, he ended up saying, no, I'm going to go to bed. So he rolled over and went to bed. And the next morning he saw a guy walking up. He lives on 5 acres, like a long driveway, one of those kind of situations in Seattle, outside of Seattle. And a guy comes walking up the drive in a suit, knocks on the door, and immediately says, I'm really sorry. I don't normally do this, but would you sell your house? Yeah. I was like, and he ended up selling his house to this guy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. He had stories. This guy is so open to the channel. I mean, he had like 3 or 4 stories like this where my mouth was just, you're kidding. Like, I can't do that,
Yes, you can.
Yeah. Well, I can't. Yes, you're right. I can. But he it was story after story of immediate manifestation. It was crazy. It's like, wow, that guy he was so cool. Such a cool
My
guy.
dad had one of those this weekend.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was so beautiful. They went with my brother, my mom and dad, and my brother went on a little road trip and whatever. Anyway, my dad was looking at a couple of trailers, holiday trailers, and he had one in mind that was like perfect and he loved it and it's exactly what they're looking for. And my mom's experiencing some mobility issues, so it's really low to the ground and it's all on one floor, no stairs. So like this is the one. So the three of them, they go and look at it. And my mom jacked, like, this is the one, we got to get it. My brother, like, woohoo, we got it. Let's buy this, Dad, you know, whatever, right? Like, and my brother's the same age as me, so it's not like he's a little kid or anything, but he's like, yeah, let's do it. And my dad, like, saw a little bit of a leak on the window. And the guy was like, oh, yeah, it's just the window, you know, whatever, right? So they all went back outside, and my dad was like, oh, I just want to look at one more thing, and like touched around the window, and the whole wall was soft. And my dad was like, no, we're not interested. So he like walks out and he says, not interested. And like immediately my mom is mad, my brother is mad. Why are you doing this? We'll never find anything. And like, like freaking out. My dad's like, just chill. Like, the right one will come. And I have no doubt about that. And he just like left the situation. He's an old cowboy. So he's like, cool, whatever. Like, get one, don't get one. I don't really care. They drive like an hour to their next destination. And they're like sitting in the hotel or whatever. And all of a sudden an ad comes up on Facebook for one in Red Deer, in the town that they were in. And they were like, interesting. Okay, let's go look at it. It was immaculate. It was perfect. It was an older couple who had taken care of it. They were very, like, they had a decent amount of money, or like they took care of their things. They had pride in that. They ended up buying that trailer. It was exactly what they wanted. And the lady left all of the dishes in it, all of the cutlery, all the pots and pans, like invited them in for tea. It was a wonderful experience. They are like in their 80s. So they're like, we can't, you know, do this trailer thing anymore. And they were like saying goodbye and created this lifelong friendship. And it just like within hours just fell right into place.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, it is.
If you can have an intention and then release it and let the universe handle it, it's just amazing what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know about you. I have found I'm really bad at predicting how it's going to happen.
Yes.
Well, we're not meant to know, you know.
Well, apparently I passed that test. I'm usually way off.
I'm always trying to figure it out. You know, just working on letting that one go.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see what the universe sees. So lucky for us. It doesn't usually happen the way we want it, because it's usually way better. Yeah.
That's probably one of the hardest early lessons to learn, is that it's going to be better the next one.
Yeah.
Because you're still kind of grasping for, I got to have it right now. But when you can learn that one, it's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
I learned to say this or something better for the greater good of all concerned. So, you know, if I want something, I just let it go and I say this or something better for the greatest, you know, highest level of all concerned. And that has worked out for me pretty well.
Good. Yeah. Nice tip to share there. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
As so often happens when we do these shows, I look up at the clock and I say, whoa, that was quick.
Yeah, it was quick.
It was quick.
Yeah.
It was really quick. Yeah, and that's usually the sign that it's a good show. In fact, it was also in this case too. So we're very grateful to have had you join us. But there are we have a pattern of 3 things we like to do at the end of every episode.
Okay.
The first one we'd like to do is we'd like to ask you to tell people how the heck to find you in case they want to work with you on a mentor type relationship, because it's actually easier if you explain it to them than if they have to go look for it.
Or your books. I would like to buy your children's books for all of my nieces and nephews.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
You can find me and my books at hellojulieheaton.com. It's just like it sounds. Heaton is Heaton.
Okay.
So hellojulieheaton.com.
Good. And we'll include a link in the show notes too, to make it easier for people to find that.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
Second thing we like to do is I like to go to my co-host and ask my co-host, especially Jody Lynn, she's so good at this. Ask my co-host, you know, kind of take what we've been talking about here and tie it all together with a bow on top.
Oh.
Because my co-hosts are my co-hosts are participants, but they're also listeners. And so in a sense, they kind of represent the audience, but they're also participating directly with what's going on here. And they really bring a great perspective. Jody Lynn's really good at this. So Jody Lynn, this one's now this is just me. I'm thinking this one was a really easy one to tie together. You may tell me differently, but I mean, I kind of look, I look at your face right now and I say, she's already got it figured out. She is not trying to figure it out.
I think there's a couple of things that we talked about that tie this whole thing into a big red bow. And I love using people's words because I think that the most authentic things come out of their mouth. So one of the things that you had said today that I just love, small steps lead to big progress. Often in this lifetime, we go out and we're told all of these things, get a good job, get married, have kids. Like these are all the things that you do to be successful. And just like you, a lot of people find that they've climbed the wrong ladder and don't know what to do next and think that it's got to be complicated. And what I loved about our conversation today was you brought it right back to the basics, really zeroed in on the simplicity of this entire context of this conversation of loving yourself, of having gratitude for yourself and that self-validation so that you can really step into authentically who you are and the truth that is evolving before your very eyes. So thank you for that reminder today.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I take you with me on the next podcast?
You can soundbite that clip and use it in marketing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take it. Do it. Yeah. It's good stuff. Final thing I always like to do is I noticed now that we're in the 21st century, a few years ago, I noticed that we tend to take certain things for granted now that didn't even exist 30 years ago. And one of those things is that because there are so many people who have gone through stuff in life and they've found really great answers and they're sharing it. And in some cases, they're also turning it into businesses. They're coaches, they're authors, they're course creators, all that kind of stuff. But they're also just doing podcasts and they're jumping onto other kinds of media, so forth, and basically sharing the message with as many people as they can. And that's where I was noticing there's a little gap in what we do. You were talking earlier in the show about how important it is to be grateful and express your gratitude. I like to express gratitude on this gap. The gap that I noticed is we're putting out all this stuff to people we never meet, never see, and it's affecting them in ways we don't know about, and we never get appreciation for it. So, Julie, on behalf of those people you've never met, never seen, never will meet, never will see, who you've been helping in ways you don't even know about, on their behalf, thank you for what you're doing because you are making a difference in this world.
Oh, that was really sweet. Thank you so much. You too. Yeah, you guys are both so wonderful. It's been such a joy to talk to you. Really enjoyed it.
We loved it. Yeah. We have different kinds of conversations here. Today was kind of like, you have your slippers on and you're sipping a cup.
So cozy.
It's very cozy. Yeah.
That's what people tell me about reading my book. They say it's like sitting with a friend on a couch. So that's funny that you kind of, but yeah, I loved it.
That's the way it felt. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's just you, Julie. I think just your presence is very warming and like you're sitting beside a fire or on a cold day and you got a blanket and all the love in the world. That's how I feel.
Oh, that just made my heart explode.
Good.
Thank you. I appreciate
We've done our job for today.
You have.
Exactly.
You have. I feel great.
Really dose of happy.
Yeah, little dose of happy. Yes, for sure.
So thank you very much. Thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.